In this episode, you'll discover how the masks we've worn for years can keep us stuck and how removing them becomes the beginning of your next chapter. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. In this episode, which is part of our reinvention series for 2026, we explore one of the most important pieces of true transformation, the emotional masks we wear. These masks often form in childhood and follow us into adulthood, keeping us stuck in old patterns during life and career transitions. My guest, psychotherapist and executive coach, Lisa Skeffington, shares her powerful story and teaches us what it really takes to remove the mask, reconnect with our Ikigai, and finally step into the next chapter we're meant for. And don't forget to stay till the end for the key takeaways. Welcome back to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. Today I'm honored to welcome Lisa Skeffington, founder of Empowered Momentum, a multi-award winning psychotherapist, executive coach, and self-esteem expert. Lisa helps high-achieving women in leadership and business move beyond anxiety, burnout, and hidden trauma to step fully into their confidence and power. Her work is rooted in a powerful question. What if the woman who seems to have it all is secretly carrying the silent wounds behind her success? Through her pioneering approach, Lisa helps women remove the mask, heal emotional wounds, and rediscover who they truly are beneath it all. I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Lisa. How are you doing?
Hello, Kavita. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show. I'm very excited to be here and I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you here. Maybe I'd like to start with that, if you don't mind. You did share with me, and if you could share with the audience, that your journey began kind of in a difficult spot, going in an environment which felt controlling and a bit isolating. So how did those early experiences, Lisa, kind of shape your path? And how have they kind of influenced the way that you now guide women through their own healing and transformation?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, as you said, I didn't have the easiest of childhoods. Many of us didn't.
Yes.
My father was violent. I grew up in an environment of domestic abuse against me, against my mother. My brother, being a boy, got off fairly scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of grew up in an environment where I was walking on eggshells all the time, where I wasn't allowed to have a voice. If I had a voice, I was crushed physically, emotionally, verbally. And I learned really quite early on in my life, without even realizing, I think, that I was learning that I needed to protect myself. And that was a bit of a challenge for me because I was quite a spirited child. I didn't want to be quiet easily. I had opinions. I wanted to voice my opinions, but I wasn't allowed to have a voice. I wasn't allowed to be seen. It was very much sort of Victorian values of children are seen but not heard. If you had a voice, you were, how can I say, breaking the rules. You were an unruly child if you dared to have a voice. So I learned to shrink within myself, to really kind of pipe down. And these overriding patterns of psychological control in my childhood repeated in my marriage. I was married for 25 years to a man who was, as it turned out in the end, very similar to my father, but in my 20s I didn't see those patterns. I wasn't experienced enough, worldly enough, to realize that there were these pattern repeats. So I continued through my marriage as well to wear a mask, really, to appear to be having a good life, to appear to be on top of everything, but actually inside I was crushed. And it got to the point I had a career in diplomatic work and in investment banking, and I was really struggling to overcome or make sense of a childhood. When I had my own child, I feared so much that the monster in my father was in me, and that I would harm my daughter. And at the same time, the patterns of obsessive control began to emerge from my husband. The patterns of needing attention began to emerge. So it was a difficult place to be. And it sent me into an emotional breakdown where I just couldn't pretend to be fine any longer. It was just, it got to the point where it was too much. And I spiraled into a breakdown. And I felt very isolated, just as I had when I was a child. Nobody really understood. Nobody got it. I couldn't really articulate how I was feeling. I just knew that I wasn't being me. I wasn't living my life true to me, to who I was. But my breakdown became my breakthrough to the woman I am today, to the journey of the woman I have become today. And within a year of my recovery, 30 years ago, I started to train in physical and psychological therapies. So for the past 10 years now, I have built a simple but comfortable life, divorced, a life I love at the beach, growing my business, supporting women in leadership in business and in the public eye, to safely remove the mask and come home to the truth of who they are, and becoming an author and an event host along the way. Now, I will actually add in this as well, that in order to get to this place, I had to wear the most intense mask I'd ever wore. And that was to use a strategy that I advise my clients in lots of different ways, as I'll come on to, the importance of strategy, to create a strategy for myself that would allow me a 10-year plan to exit a difficult marriage in order to safeguard myself and my children emotionally and psychologically into a life that we have now. And I was very successful in doing that.
Wow. I can hear the emotion in your voice, and I can feel it. And thank you for sharing that. It can't be easy to share that. I'm sure you've done it many times, but still it brings up a lot of things. And you mentioned walking on eggshells, needing to protect yourself and learning to shrink. And you learn to shrink within yourself. And those early experiences must have been very, very difficult. And having that continue from your father to your husband, this emotional breakdown you went through. And I love what you said is about my breakdown became my breakthrough, because we often talk about transitions in this podcast and in my work, and there's often a trigger, and that trigger, I believe for you, might have been this emotional breakdown where you're like, okay, now who am I, right? And what is it I really want? And I want to go back to that concept of what you talked about, the idea of the masks we wear, because you spoke about that a lot. We, as women, we put on these masks to show the world perhaps that we're doing fine. You said that now you had to wear the most intense mask. So, and now you're here to remove those masks for women like you did yourself. So let me ask you, Lisa, why do we wear these masks in the first place? And how do these protective habits, the ones that, just to keep us safe, how do these eventually become those very things that keep us stuck or disconnected from who we really are?
So I think it's important to say that behind everyone's mask is an emotional being. And it's that emotion, when we connect to it, that's what keeps it real. We have to be real. And when we are living life behind a mask, we aren't being real. We aren't being real with ourselves and we aren't being real with anyone else. Now, these masks, they form as, let's say, survival mechanisms, as I explained for me, and yes, you're right. I have shared my story a number of times. It's really important, I feel, to share that vulnerability, to share that emotion, to share that realness of who I am, because in turn it encourages the women I help to do the same as well. We have to be vulnerable. I'm sure we can talk some more about that. These masks, they are to keep us safe. We learn that we have to behave a certain way to gain approval, to avoid criticism. And I learned through my own journey that self-esteem, it isn't something that we are born with. It's more like a vacuum of insecurities that get transmitted through families, through environments. The thing is, we can shake these off and we can grow beyond them. We absolutely can. But you have to be willing to identify them, to understand how they've shaped you, and to actively work to heal them. These early experiences, they made me determined that no woman in any circumstance should ever have to shrink or battle to have a voice, the way that I did. And that's why I work with such conviction now, because I've walked that path from feeling powerless and controlled to now living genuinely empowered and free in my life. So these masks of protection, they're formed in childhood. And because there are certain parts of ourselves that we have grown to learn to perceive are not acceptable. And vulnerability leads to rejection, to harm, that we have to be perfect or compliant or strong in order to be loved. So for high achieving women specifically, this mask becomes the competent woman who's got it all together, who's smashing it every day.
Yeah.
This mask, it helps leaders in business, in the corporate world, to navigate male-dominated spaces, equally at home, as I experienced. It helps you to navigate that dominance. It helps you to prove yourself worthy of opportunity and combat the gender bias that still unfortunately exists in some organizations. And every time that has worked for a woman, every promotion she's earned, every crisis she's managed, or every moment someone has said to her, I don't know how you do it all. I don't know how you do it. That's reinforced the belief that she needs that mask to succeed. So these protective habits, people-pleasing, perfectionism, the inability to show struggle or ask for help, they become so automatic that they're no longer a choice. It's like they are so deeply ingrained in her neural pathways. I often talk to my clients about the idea of fish swimming in water. Fish don't know they're swimming in water. It's the same for women, often high performing, not realizing they're wearing a mask, and not realizing that it's there for protection from old unhealed wounds. And honestly, by midlife, you've worn that mask so many times that you've
part of your armor, right?
Absolutely. You've forgotten where it ends and where your true self even begins.
Yes. It's so interesting. Thank you for that perspective. I also work with many high achieving women, and I see this pattern that you're describing, in that there's this need to always be perfect and have it all together. And it's, if I drop one ball, then I'm not going to be perceived as being successful, or I've got it together for everybody else. And then eventually, when we have it together for everybody else, who's the last one to suffer is ourselves, right? Because we've given. And what you said about the people pleasing and the perfectionism is so real. They even know it exists. But why do you find, or if you do you find that women, particularly high achieving women, why is it so hard for them to ask for help? What's often underneath that constant drive to keep going and to hold it all together? And even when inside they might be feeling anxious or exhausted or depleted.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say, to turn your question on its head for a moment,
Yes.
the driver for these women, which is also the paradox, the frustration, the inner conflict with all of this, is that they're just seeking connection.
Mm.
They're just seeking love and a need to feel accepted for who they are. This whole mask is actually working against them. So let me give you an example.
Yes.
So this mask that once kept them safe now keeps them invisible. So many women, I would say, 99% of the women that I work with, speak to, feel invisible. They will feel that they're not heard in meetings. That an opinion they have is not listened to. And then, dare I say it, a man says it,
Mm-hmm.
and people jump on it as that's a great idea. But a woman could have said that 5, 10 minutes before.
Mm-hmm.
Equally, it's just in so many different ways. The woman feels invisible.
Yes.
And what happens with this invisibility, while she's craving connection, because we are all beings of love, we need connection. We need that love and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
It's who we are, isn't it? It's in our
Yes.
soul. It's in our makeup. Yet this invisibility that the mask creates, it prevents that genuine connection because no one sees the real you.
Mm-hmm.
It creates exhaustion because you're constantly performing. As you said, you're constantly worrying, you're constantly preoccupied, you're constantly overthinking, over delivering, over pleasing. And it's exhausting. It's energy sapping, isn't it? It's draining.
Yes.
And worst of all, it creates deep loneliness. And the mask, it breeds deep loneliness, deep emotional isolation, because you can be surrounded by people who admire you, yet feel utterly unseen, because the person they're seeing, it isn't actually you.
I never thought of this the way that the mask that keeps us invisible. That's really an interesting concept. I never put those two together. And that is so true because if we're not seen as who we really are, then that makes us even more lonely or more not able to be who we really are.
Absolutely. Yeah, it
Right.
really, really does.
How do we gradually empower ourselves to unpeel
Mm.
the mask? Why do you think it's so, or if do you think it is powerful for women to take that slower, more intentional path rather than perhaps trying to change everything at once? I have a lot of clients who come to me and say, "Oh, I just want to fix it. I just want to get a new job or change cities or just quick fixes,"
Mm.
which I often say that those quick fixes, yeah, they might make you feel good in the interim or short in the short term, but long term, it's not
Mm.
going to be fixed unless you actually intentionally understand what's behind all of this.
Mm.
So I believe you feel the same way. Maybe you could give you some maybe perspectives on that.
Mm. I do.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think we live in quite a quick fix culture,
Yes.
and it's a myth
Mm.
that things can be fixed quickly. Yes, they can be fixed quickly. Yes, you can have moments of enlightenment that can shift your perspective, that can really help you to take a leap forward. But in order to create lasting, powerful change, there has to be a process. There
Mhm.
absolutely has to be a process. It doesn't have to take forever. Not, in the traditional way of talking therapies. First off, I'd like to say that there are several layers that we need to look at. So for high achievers, how they getting their own way, if you like, from getting the help they need is they have a belief that asking for help means admitting failure. Their inner narrative might be something like, oh, I should have this all figured out by now. I've come so far. I've solved so many problems. Why can't I fix this?
Yes.
And that's a battle with themselves, isn't it, in who they know themselves to be.
Mhm.
But there's also a profound shame, which is really important to address this. There is a profound shame in needing support with something as basic as confidence when a woman has accomplished so much externally. Now, I'm not saying that confidence is basic. It isn't. But that's the perception that a woman who is smashing it, who is leading great teams, who's achieved great things, confidence feels so by the by. Why haven't I got confidence?
Yeah, I should be confident. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know? And the thing is, these women have built their entire identity on being the capable one, the one that other people lean on. So if you've been a pillar of strength for your family, for your team, for your organization, who are you if you're not that anymore? It's a very scary place to live. Isn't it? It's a scarier place than walking on eggshells because you just have no clue what would happen if you change that core identity.
Right.
So sometimes it can explain why women stay there because the unknown is more scary.
Yes.
Than the fear of burnout, even, than the fear of their relationships breaking. It's actually not knowing who they are, actually losing themselves without the right support structure is unthinkable, isn't it? It's untenable. So particularly for women in leadership, there's a legitimate fear as well that any visible struggle will be used against them. You know, I wonder how many times, you've been aware of women in professional settings, let's say, over the years who have shown emotion or vulnerability and they've been slated for it. They've been attacked for it. The message that, oh, you're too emotional to lead or you're not tough enough. If we go back 10 or so years, maybe, there was the idea that women had to be masculine to survive in a man's world. And again, that's just another mask, isn't it? It's another version of a mask, of a self-protective barrier. So they keep this mask firmly in place because, as I said, the cost of removing it just feels too high. But underneath that drive to keep going at all costs is usually something that is much deeper. And that's a fundamental belief that they are only worthy if they are performing, if they are useful, if they are exceeding expectations. It's like it's an internalized message that says love and respect are conditional. And that's a learned pattern from childhood.
Yes.
So if they slow down, if they show need, if they're anything less than exceptional, there's a real fear, not only in the fear of losing who they are, but the fear that they may be abandoned or dismissed. Oh, in high functioning anxiety, which is what many of these women are experiencing, the anxiety disguises itself as drive, as ambition, as dedication. They are mistaking the racing thoughts, the inability to switch off for passion for their work. They're not realizing that their nervous system is actually stuck in survival mode, which is a ticking time bomb, isn't it? It's quietly ticking away, leading them down a path where they get to burnout, where their relationships are actually so strained, so disconnected that things break, that they are so exhausted themselves, so overwhelmed under the surface that it's hard for them to have healthy relationships at work.
Yes.
It's hard for them to lead a team, isn't it? To be inspiring to a team if they're quietly, silently unraveling. So what I would say, I guess, is that empowerment, it's not like a lightning bolt. Empowerment is really a series of small, courageous choices that accumulate over time. And it starts like this. It starts with awareness, beginning to recognize that there's exhaustion, that there's anxiety, that there's that sense of never being enough, to not be that fish in water, as I said earlier, to become aware, actually, this is real. This is what's happening within myself, around myself, within my world. And again, part of the reason this is so hard is because it feels like they're part of a woman's identity because they've been there for so long as a consequence of wearing a mask. But the truth is they aren't personality traits. They are patterns. They're patterns of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And these patterns, whether they are subconscious or conscious, they can be changed. So in practice, it might look like this. You might start by identifying just one area, let's say, perhaps where you're people pleasing or you're over functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So using that awareness to become aware enough to identify that maybe it's saying yes to every request when you're already overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you've said yes, your heart sinks because you know you can't really take it on. So perhaps to practice saying as a response instead, let me check my capacity and I'll get back to you on that. Instead of an automatic yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one small boundary. Now, at first, this feels terrifying. Oh my goodness. Because your nervous system is screaming that something bad will happen if you don't immediately comply.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a subconscious pattern running from childhood
Mm-hmm.
when the mask got created. But when you survive setting just a small boundary,
Yes.
and you realize that the world doesn't end, the ceiling doesn't fall in, you've created evidence that you can prioritize yourself, that it's safe
Mm-hmm.
to prioritize yourself just in a small way, but it's safe to start.
Mm-hmm.
And that's data that your nervous system can begin to work with. And then gradually you can start to build on that.
Mm-hmm.
So next step, let's say you identify some triggers. So by triggers, I mean you identify the situations or people that would activate those old patterns, that would activate that need to self-protect, that need to shrink. You learn to recognize, to tune into the inner critic, that voice in your head, jabbing away.
Mm-hmm.
And begin to question it. Don't just automatically accept it and believe it. Perhaps ask yourself when you hear something, well, who said that?
Yeah.
And what did they know anyway? Taking it into real life. So speaking up in a meeting,
Yes.
even when your heart is racing, expressing a need in a relationship, when your needs have been trodden on, ignored, non-existent for years, walking away from a situation, a circumstance, a person even,
Mm-hmm.
that diminishes you. Now, let me share, if I may, why I think this gradual approach is so powerful. So it comes back to what we said
Yes.
a little while ago, doesn't it? That there are no quick fixes. Because sustainable transformation is not about willpower. Yes, there are decisions involved,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not willpower that creates the transformation. That's just the decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's about rewiring.
Yeah.
Your nervous system needs repeated experiences of safety in new behaviors to override decades of conditioning. When you try to do everything at once, well, the system, it gets overwhelmed and it just snaps back to old patterns. I'm sure you perhaps talk to your clients about the different zones. We have a comfort zone, a stretch zone, and a panic zone.
Yes.
We need to do things steadily to keep growing. If we take too big a step from what we know, from what's familiar, in our comfort zone, we leap into our panic zone.
Yes.
Fires off our nervous system, cortisol goes on overdrive,
Yes.
jump back into our comfort zone and gosh, I'm not going there again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Instead, a much safer, better way. Again, I talk to my clients about this is divergent paths, where we can use our two hands in a V shape with our wrists touching.
Mm-hmm.
And we can become very aware of where we're at any one time. And the willpower, this is here. This is where the wrists touch. This is our point of decision. This is our choice. And we can choose to live on one side that we know doesn't serve us, doesn't help us, or we can start to make gentle, empowered choices, one step at a time, to start to live over the other side. But we don't go from the beginning right to the top.
No.
It's a step by step process. Scary, it can be without support. because your nervous system's firing all the time. But with the right support, with the right strategies and contingencies in place, it can be a beautiful, beautiful, empowering journey.
Wow.
One of my lovely clients, actually, she's walked this journey with me very successfully. She's a senior lawyer, and she talks about the boulder and how one day the boulder started moving and it continued moving. In the beginning, it just moved a little bit, little bit, and then it began to gather momentum.
Yes. Yeah.
And she says, and it hasn't stopped moving.
Have you?
And that's the reason my business is called Empowered Momentum.
Yes.
Because we understand, we create the awareness, we create that sense of empowerment within ourselves, and then we gather momentum going forward.
It's so powerful what you just shared. And if I could, I'll try to read back what I heard from that. And that in terms of, yes, it's the small, courageous choices that we need to make in order to move the boulder forward. And the first one is awareness of where we are, perhaps identifying boundaries, identifying triggers, tuning into our inner critic, questioning it, who said that, and practicing those behaviors, which will move us up the curve. And then the other thing is that the point that I really liked is that you said that sustainable empowerment is not willpower, it's about rewiring. So that is a gradual process that we need to make sure that we are aware of, and it's not a quick fix, as you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to come in on that point about being gradual again, is you see, when we change gradually, when we're building evidence and that capacity within ourselves step by step, that's what makes the transformation actually stick.
Mm-hmm.
There is the planning element, as I mentioned before for myself, my own life, the planning element in this gradual unfolding, if you like, in this gradual empowerment is so crucial. And especially for high achievers who are strategic thinkers, they need to be designing that path forward. They need to be questioning for themselves, evidencing as they go, step by step, what boundaries do I need? What relationships need to shift?
Yes.
What parts of my life are truly serving me? What parts am I maintaining out of fear or obligation? So many women stay in relationships, especially sometimes careers, but often relationships that they have outgrown, that they're not happy in because of fear. Because of fear of what it might be like after, say, a 30-year marriage.
Yes.
To be
I see that all the time. I see that all the time. Is I've been in this relationship, I've been in this career. I'm because I don't know what else. I feel I'm afraid to uncover what could be. Would I fail? What's on the other side? And that's so prevalent.
I would say actually, vulnerability is probably the most important mindset shift. Because vulnerability is not about being weak. It's not about falling apart. We talked about the need to be seen to be keeping it all together, especially in a male-dominated environment sometimes.
Yes.
It's about being real. The mask of infallibility, that performance of having it all together, it actually requires so much energy, which, as we've said, leads to burnout.
Yes.
And it creates that profound isolation, doesn't it?
Yes.
So true strength is really having the courage to be seen.
Yes.
As you actually are. And it's incredibly difficult to do. But women who do develop, in my experience of 25 plus years doing what I'm doing, the women who develop genuine, unshakable confidence are not the ones who never show any signs of struggle. They are the ones who've learned to be honest. So when you can say, I'm finding this challenging, I don't have all the answers, I need support, you're not being weak. You're being courageous enough to tell the truth. about you. And vulnerability, I wonder if you agree with this, because I'm sure you do. Vulnerability is the doorway to connection, isn't it? I wonder if you find that, because it's what allows other people to actually see us.
Yeah. Yes, it's interesting as you were talking about that. I was thinking about kind of the arc of when I start coaching somebody, and then towards the end, the more and more you have that trust and vulnerability, and the more my clients share with me, that mask kind of starts peeling and peeling and peeling, and then the emotions come out, and then that's when their truth really starts being revealed.
Yeah.
So it is that slow chipping away of being more and more vulnerable, because there's that trust factor in the person that they're sharing their emotions with. And it is the doorway. It is the doorway to the confidence, I think, is being well. Yeah. Yeah. The more and more they share, they recognize, they identify these things, that's when the confidence builds, I find.
Absolutely. I've spoken on podcasts and stages and written about it, about the game of what I call back at you.
Fat catcher? Okay.
Back at you. Yeah, it's like back at you.
Yeah.
I feel it's a made up word that amuses me. And I just think it sums up the interaction between people sometimes when both people are wearing a mask. The classic is, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine too. And then it's like, well, that's the niceties out of the way. Neither one's fine. Both are pretending.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's where that sense of being real comes in again. Because when you drop the mask, even slightly, when you let someone see that you are human, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, aren't we? They say, it's a great quote. When we let someone see that we're human, that we struggle, that we don't have it all figured out, it gives other people the permission to do the same. And suddenly, you're not alone anymore.
Yeah.
Because those genuine connections are what actually sustain us, don't they, through difficult times? Not the admiration for appearing perfect.
Yes. I really love that. I think that perspective, that vulnerability isn't falling apart. It's finally allowing ourselves to be seen, right? And so important. And you're just a wealth of knowledge and information. I could talk to you for forever. Just if we maybe a last message, Lisa, for anyone who is listening, who may be feeling really trapped at the moment or alone, or really unsure how to move forward. There's a lot there, but maybe what would be one message of hope you'd want to leave her with?
I would want her to know, first of all, you are not broken. You're not too old. You're not too far gone or beyond help. What you are experiencing, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the exhaustion behind the mask, they are the logical result of years, decades of trying to be safe in environments that weren't right for you, of internalizing messages that you had to be worthy. But I want you to know you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not alone. I know it feels like you're the only one secretly struggling, that everyone else has got it all figured out. That's the mask's greatest lie. That woman next to you in the boardroom, the colleague who seems effortlessly confident, the friend who appears to have it all together, so many of them are feeling exactly what you're feeling. They're just hiding it too. Please know that healing and transformation is possible. It's never too late. I've worked with women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who thought that their patterns were permanent. They'd resigned themselves to living behind that mask forever. But do you know what? I've watched them blossom when they finally gave themselves permission to heal, to be real, to prioritize their own needs and well-being. Because midlife isn't the end of possibility. It's often the most exciting time. It's when women finally come into their true power, because we're done wasting time on what people think and what doesn't serve you. The path forward is not about working harder or being more disciplined. It's about addressing the root causes of this. It's about understanding how the strategies that got you here were brilliant survival mechanisms, but they don't serve you now. It's about learning new ways of being that actually allow you to feel so powerful, as competent, as worthy as you actually are, because you don't need to struggle for another decade. Not when the tools exist, the support exists, and the path exists. The only question you need to ask yourself is, am I ready to take this first step? Not to become someone different, but to finally and fully become yourself, the woman that you've always been beneath that mask, waiting to be seen, to be heard, to be celebrated exactly as you are.
You made me cry.
I'm feeling emotional too.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's the truth, isn't it?
It's so true. This is
powerful.
why I do what I do, Lisa.
Yeah,
This is why I do it. And this is why you do what you do, because it's so powerful. It's so true. It's really necessary. I feel like shouting it from the mountaintops. And I know you do too.
absolutely.
And it's such a powerful message. And I'm sure that every listener here is feeling as emotional as we are. And I thank you so much for that. Your story and wisdom give a lot of comfort and strength to women who are listening and ready to remove their own masks and step into the truest versions of themselves.
Thank you.
In the process.
Really.
So, well, while I'd love to continue that conversation, we do have to wrap up. But I would love to learn if you could share where people can find you, learn more about your work and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me as a guest. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you.
Same here. Yes.
I'm sure we could speak for hours together.
I think so too.
The same passions and the same visions, which is just beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So listeners can find me at welcome.empoweredmomentum.com. That's welcome.empoweredmomentum.com. And there I have for you a few things. You can take my self-esteem reality check to get you started. It's a free self-worth audit that'll really help you to see and understand your needs, your feelings, and your beliefs. It's like peeking in behind the mask.
Nice.
Just that first step. You can also get a free digital preview of my book, From Anxious to Empowered, with the opportunity also to buy any of my 3 books. I've written 2 books for young adults and Anxious to Empowered for women, with inspiration and advice for a calm and happy life. Wow. And if you're interested to discover more about working with me directly, then you can book a connection call with me, a simple call, and we'll discuss your most aligned options, including my international mentoring and my in-person coastal escapes in the UK and my upcoming yachting escapes too.
Oh, wonderful. Those are wonderful offers. And if anybody has listened to today, you can see the passion that Lisa has in her work. And we will have all the links and offers in the show notes that you can check out as well. I thank you so much, Lisa, for your wisdom and your knowledge today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
As we close today's conversation, I want to remind you that the masks you've been wearing or carrying wasn't a flaw. It was protection. But as we move towards 2026, this is your moment to gently set it down and choose a new way of being. Every small shift you make now becomes part of the reinvention you're creating for the year ahead. And if you're ready for support as you step into your next chapter, I would love to help you. You can book a free breakthrough conversation with me with a link in the show notes, or visit itsmytimenowcoaching.com, and together we'll explore what's possible for you in 2026 and beyond. And remember, my friend, your reinvention is already underway, and it begins with one honest step at a time.